When new users try using AUD out of the box, they're often overwhelmed and confused by the many attributes displayed in Quick Info and Feature Info. Most feature classes simply show a whole bunch of attributes, and there's no easy way to know which ones you should pay attention to. What if you want to set the status to removal? You've really got to search down the list. But AUD has a powerful configuration feature that makes it possible to show designers exactly the information that makes sense. Let's explore both the basic functionality as well as a new feature introduced in AUD 7.1. I'll go to the Configuration tab and select the Industry Model Editor. Now I'll select a transformer and switch to the Attributes tab. The first thing to note is this category column. For most feature classes it's empty, but this can be used to categorize the attributes you think are important. For my implementations, I typically start with a category for the most important attributes that every user should pay attention to. I want this to be at the top. So I'll start with the model name field and set the category value to 1:key attributes. Once I've entered this value once, it's on a pick list, so I'll set the same value for the description and for the status attributes. Now, what about attributes specific to a transformer that I might want to pay attention to? Maybe designers, for example, are required to enter the name of the transformer and the transformer's phase. I'll locate these fields and set the category value for these to 2:assess update, indicating that designers should assess these values and, if appropriate, update them. And while we're at it, let's create a third category for transformer specifications. I'll choose voltage, voltage 2, kVA, phase count fields. All of these are model attributes, and set these to 3 specifications. Oh, and I'll also select the feed type field. Now before we go further, let's see what we have. I'll click on OK and again select the transformer in my design. Note now in Quick Info that the attributes are much easier to read. I can clearly see which model I have and its status. And I can see the 2 fields that I'll generally want to update, the name number of the transformer and the phase value, as well as important specifications. And finally, I can see that in the specifications section, I could set the feed type to either loop or radial. But there's more. Let's take this to the next level. First, consider that the phase setting should only be shown for single-phase transformers. Why would we show that field at all for 3-phase transformers? So I'm going to go back to the Configuration tab. And first I'm going to select the Manage Rules option. I'll expand the Boolean section, remember Boolean rules return true or false, and drill down to the Electric section. I'll right-click and create a subrule, which I'll name IsNot3P. And I'll write the rule as follows. Phase count is the first value. I'll choose the operator not equal, and I'll make the second value 3. And at this point, it's always good practice to provide a description, so I'll expand the comment section at the top and type in a couple letters to indicate my utility, for example, and a description. Since I'm using this rule to determine if something should show in Quick Info, I like to call these show rules. Fine. Now I'll switch back to the Industry Model Editor. I'll open up the Transformer Attributes tab and locate the phase attribute. Now, instead of having show in the visibility column, I'll choose a rule, and the rule I'll choose will be IsNot3P. Now let me make a couple of other changes. Let's say the utility calls the transformer identifier transformer ID. So I'll change the caption for the name number field. I'll also change the labels here on primary and secondary voltage. In addition, in this sample utility, all the transformers will have a feed type of radial. So for feed type, I'm going to set the default value to radial, and in addition, I'll set the editability field to read only. This is a new 7.1 feature. Now I'll click on OK, and we'll see how these changes affect the final result. I'll draw a new transformer first. This is because some of these changes won't necessarily take effect on the transformer that's already been drawn. So now you can see the ID field says Transformer ID, and the voltage fields now have primary and secondary clearly marked. And note that the feed type field shows as well, but it's grayed out and it can't be edited. This is new functionality with the 7.1 release. Finally, let's switch to a three-phase transformer model. And now note that while the categories are the same, the phase field does not show in the Assess Update section because there's no reason to set the phase for a three-phase transformer model. So these are the basic features of attributes related to attribute categorization. All of this is quite simple to do, and it will make your AUD configuration much easier for the designers. Remember the following points. Categories group attributes in ways that will make sense to users. The categories do sort alphabetically, so choose names or put prefixes on names to help with the sorting. For my implementations, I always use names as shown in this demo. You can create simple rules that show or hide attributes. This means that the interface will make more sense to designers and they'll only see relevant fields. You can fix attribute captions to use terms that make sense to your designers. And with the new 7.1 release, you can control which fields are editable so that designers won't inadvertently change values that they shouldn't change.